Well, let's assess the situation with Amrita Sen. She's Assistant Vice President for Commodities Research at Barclays Capital. Amrita, good to see you. So, when you have a look at these widespread protests, what is worrying you the most in terms of the impact that it could have on geopolitics?
I think the very fact that, it started with Tunisia and Egypt, and yes, it is spreading. It's spreading very, very quickly, right through some of the biggest oil-producing countries in Africa. And yes, there are signs of instability in the Middle East as well. I think Saudi is still relatively well shielded despite what's going on in Bahrain. But yes, there are still concerns. And at the end of the day, this area is home to the world's largest oil and gas reserves and production.
Now, we haven't actually seen oil supplies affected quite yet. Where is the biggest potential threat?
I think currently, clearly, it's Libya, given the situation over there. What's going on in Bahrain is very important, but Bahrain in itself is not a very big oil producer. I think Libya is, again, Algeria as well, both of these big producers of oil. In terms of the infrastructure itself, it may not be at risk given, the desert terrain and bulk of the pipelines run through these areas and relatively shielded from the populous areas. But, as you heard earlier as well, if civil war does break out, it's foreign investment, very important in these countries in order to boost production. That's going to pull back. Generally, there will be delays in oil exports from this region. Again, very, very big oil producers in these regions.
Do you foresee a situation where perhaps politically the West could say, we can't buy your oil, Libya, because you're shooting demonstrators?
I don't think, in general, given the global balances at the moment, anybody has much of a choice in sourcing supplies. Outside OPEC, which would be the bulk of the Middle East and a lot of these African countries, there isn't much in terms of rising oil production. So if you look at the fundamental balance of the oil market, it's fairly precarious because, China alone is growing by 1 million barrels per day, and non-OPEC supply
Someone's
is really
going to buy
struggling.
the oil.
Exactly.
Now, Yemen, that's a concern, isn't it, because of the infrastructure there, the pipelines in particular?
Exactly. I think Yemen is one of those countries where it has seen pipeline bombings, and I think even the port itself, it is a very important transit route, like Egypt, and that kind of connects it to the Suez Canal. So yes, Yemen is something to watch out for. Potentially Iraq is also something that, in terms of infrastructure, we've already had a pipeline bombing, and again, something where oil infrastructure can be at risk.
And Iran, another potential hotspot.
Absolutely. I think the list is endless.
It's really not good timing economically, is it? I mean, it doesn't look good, does it, for oil prices? Do you foresee sustained rising oil prices and a threat to the global economic recovery?
I think unless the situation is curtailed at these levels, a potential spike cannot be ruled out. And obviously, like you said, we are coming out of a recession. Well, we are okay. The world economy is improving, no doubt about that. But a spike is not going to be very healthy in terms of certain parts of the world where unemployment is still very high.
Would you rule out the global economy being dipped back into recession?
If it's a temporary spike, yes. But if it's a permanent thing, then yes, it can have an impact on the global economy.
Amrita Sen from Barclays. Thank you very much for joining us.